Hey guys, in this video I'm going to go over how to fix a DS Lite that has button problems, meaning buttons not responding or buttons needing to be pressed really hard for them to react. So what you do is you test which one has the issue. Like the D-pad seems good on this one. Y seems good. But if you notice, when you push the A, it's not doing anything. And we have to press it hard for it to have a reaction. So to fix that, what you're gonna need is a Q-tip or something you can use to clean the contacts with, and some isopropyl alcohol. Also, you're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver and a tri-wing screwdriver. So starting off, you want to remove the slot 2 cover. You have the battery cover, that's a Phillips head screw. Then you remove the battery. There's 2 more Phillips head screws over here and up here. Then there are these 2 little rubber pads with Phillips screws underneath. So I just use a tweezer and kind of get in there to remove the pads. And as you see, there's 2 Phillips head screws. Once you get those out, there are 4 tri-wing screws. So I'm going to replace it with a tri-wing tip. There's one here, one in this corner, one in the third corner, and then there's one here where the game slot is. Now if you're ever using the screwdriver and you hear like it clicking, like turning but not unscrewing the screw, you want to immediately stop and then try to use a manual screwdriver to do it, because if you just continue to turn it and it's like skipping through the threads, you're gonna end up stripping the screw and then you're not gonna be able to remove the screw. Once you have all the screws taken out, you remove the back cover. The easiest way that I find is to just start at where the game slot is. Just kind of lift it. You can lift, there's a thin piece of plastic here, you lift it through and then you can just pry it off like that. When you're taking it off, be careful not to like yank it off, because you want to try to keep the shoulder buttons intact. Because the shoulder buttons, there's actually 3 pieces to it. The button itself, this metal rod, and the spring. If you kind of yank too fast or too hard, you're gonna knock the shoulder buttons off and the spring might fly away, and it'll be impossible to find. So I always, like when I'm removing it, I put my finger there just so that it stops the spring from flying. And I like to just put these buttons down like this so that they actually come apart. It's 3 pieces, but to save myself some work when I'm reassembling, I just set them down with the 3 pieces together. Make sure you don't lose this volume switch. Once you have that removed, there's one more Phillips head screw here. Okay. Now, the buttons are on the other side of this motherboard, so we want to flip it over. But to save myself some time, I'm going to remove this white cable, or like detach it, but just by like pulling it off and then setting it to the side. The reason I do that is if you kind of flip it over with the cable there, it's gonna pop it out of its slot. So I'm gonna show you that later. What I do now is I hold onto the bottom screen and I push through the bottom. So this cable here is the top screen. You want to be very careful of this. You don't want to damage this because it's going to be a pain in the butt if you want to replace this. If this gets like a small tear or something, it's just going to completely mess up the top screen. So I kind of just flip it over and set it down. The reason I detached the white cable there is because if it was still connected at this point, you would have removed the white cable from these grooves, and it's just a pain in the butt for reassembly to try to put it back in. Okay, so I'm gonna take this Q-tip, I'm gonna put some rubbing alcohol on it, and I am gonna rub. Since I have it open anyway, I'm just gonna clean all of the contacts. The contacts for this one looks relatively clean, but for some of like these old consoles, it might have like some black residue, so you want to get that off. So you just remove these little pads and replace them. Sometimes the rubbing alcohol will do the trick, but since I repair a lot of these, I have these parts anyway, so since I have it open, I might as well just replace them just to be safe. So to put it back together, you just kind of do everything in reverse. You flip it over, plug this white thing in, which this is just like a push down. You'll hear a click when you have it in place. At this point, you can put this Phillips head screw back in. The easiest way to tell which one it is the Phillips head that was here, and the one that goes here are the shortest ones. The two that go over here have a little gold color to them, while these three just have a silver color. That's also another easy way to tell. I put these two in place so that it holds the motherboard. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to just test it before I put everything together and see if it's like the issue is actually fixed. So I pushed on the battery, flip it over, hit the switch. And at this point, I'm going to test the A button. So as you can see, it's very responsive now. Alright, so that fixes the problem, and now we just put everything back together. You put the left and right buttons into place, and then what you gotta do is, I don't know what you would call this, but I call it like loading the spring. You basically wanna grab let me see if I could make it easier for you guys to see. You take the tweezers, you take the bottom spring, and you take the spring, and you turn it, and you want to make sure you want to get this spring in this slot over here, this slot over here. Yeah, so you get this little spring into this slot. If you're new to this could take you a couple times, but you kind of just lift it up and over and make sure it falls into place. Normally I would have my finger here on this metal rod just so it doesn't pop out, and then I do this, but just I want to put my finger out of the way for the video. Now what you're gonna do is take this back cover, put the volume button back in. Make sure when you're holding it like this, the little slot needs to face upwards. And you kind of just put it into place. Now you flip it over. The key point right here is when you're putting it back together, you want to make sure you don't accidentally break the volume switch itself, which is here. So I move it all the way to the right, and then move this button all the way to the right over here. That way it'll line up properly. And also over here, the power button. The power button should always be in the down position. So you want to make sure this is also in the down position when you're putting it in. Oh man, yeah. The pain in the butt is not touching the trigger button, because if you do, it could cause the spring to pop out. So let me just redo this real quick. Make sure the power in the down position and the volume switch is all the way to the right. If this is correct, it should just slide right in. And now you do the same thing. Phillips head screw, the shortest one, goes into this slot, and then the two golden ones go into these two spots. I'm going to switch the head over, and we're going to do the tri-wing screws. It's one in each corner. And then the black screw goes into the game slot area. Now replace the battery cover, switch back to the Phillips head, tighten it, replace the put the slot 2 in, and then put the little rubber pieces back in. They have the top part is a little curved. I don't know if you can tell in here. The bottom is like more square and the top is curved. So that's how you know which orientation to put it in. Yeah, and that's it. At this point, I would just turn it back on, make sure everything feels good. Volume button still works, power still works, A, B, X, Y, everything is good. Right. That's how you fix if a button is unresponsive on your DS Lite.